This video is old, but it's true for today. This was 1969 when this was recorded, but it's true today. This guy was telling you the future, and it's happening. They're putting parents against child against parents, one race against another. I mean, they're throwing kids in the mix. It's happening today. You can't, as someone that's conservative, you cannot tell a liberal-minded snowflake the truth. You can't do it because they're blind to it. They get mad if you prove them wrong. They get mad at you. They delete you from their social pages, which is fine. I don't care about that. They can delete me because I ain't got time for the trash that they spread, the false ideas that they spread, the lies. It's awful that it comes to that, but it's true. I mean, there's no other way to put it, folks. I mean, it's true. These snowflakes, these BLM and Antifa, and all their supporters, I don't care who you are, you're all full of shit. You're all fed lies, and you believe the lies, just like the Bible says. If you want to believe a lie, he's going to let you believe it. So, that's the bottom line. Y'all's falling for a trap. You believe these leftist, evil dictator wannabes, BLM Marxists and child sex traffickers, and everything that you're saying, everything that you blame Trump for, you need to turn around and look in the mirror, because that's exactly what the BLM's doing. And you are too blind to see that. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear they're sex slave traffickers, but they are. You don't want to hear that they're Marxists, but they are. You snowflakes don't dig enough. You listen to one thing and you run with it. You got to look, people. You snowflakes out there, I'm going to tell you, you need to start listening to the truth, because you're getting fed lies by the left. You need to come back and wake up. Those of you that are woke, you need to wake up. Don't woke up, get waked up. You guys believe lies after lies after lies. And then when someone tries to show you the truth, you get mad. You can't take it when someone fights back against you. You get mad, you run to your little safe space with your thumb in your mouth or your pacifier and your little blankie. You lock yourself in and you stay there because you're all upset about the truth. You know it's true. You don't want to believe it. But this guy tells it like it is, and that's just how it's happening today.
1928, the communists declared that the racial differences among our people constituted the weakest and most vulnerable point in our social fabric. By constantly probing and straining at this one spot, they calculated that eventually the cloth could be torn apart and that Americans could be divided, weakened, and perhaps even set against each other in open combat. We mustn't kid ourselves into thinking that the communists have placed their agitators only into the black communities. They're working both sides of the street. They want hatred violence and bloodshed between the races, and they don't care how they get it or whom they use, even children if necessary. Here is a book that I think ought to be in every home library. It's entitled Color, Communism, and Common Sense by Manning Johnson. He joined the party as a young man because he honestly believed that the communists were trying to improve the conditions of his people. He was a dedicated communist, and eventually he rose to one of the highest ranks. But after many years, he discovered that instead they were merely planning to use his people in a bloody revolution to destroy America. And when he woke up to this, he dropped out of the party and devoted the rest of his life trying to alert his fellow citizens of all races to the true nature of the Communist Party as he knew it to be from the inside. Manning Johnson said, "Black rebellion was what Moscow wanted. Bloody racial conflict would split America. During the confusion, demoralization and panic would set in. Then finally the Reds say, workers stop work. Many of them seize arms by attacking arsenals. Street fights become frequent. Under the leadership of the Communist Party, the workers organize revolutionary committees to be in command of the uprising. Armed workers seize the principal government offices, invade the residences of the president and his cabinet members, arrest them, declare the old regime abolished, establish their own power." Now, here is a piece of vicious communist propaganda that perhaps some of you have seen. It's called The Crusader. It's written by Robert F. Williams, one of the organizers of the Revolutionary Action Movement. In this issue of The Crusader, the communists call not only for extensive chaos within the cities, but for putting to the torch every village, every forest, every field, and every barn. The plan is for raging fires from one city to the next. The reason? Well, first, there's the value of sheer destruction. Secondly, it would force us to deploy our defenses and rescue units over the widest possible area. The communists point out that as long as our police and National Guard remain concentrated, they're invincible. But if they can be forced to spread out over the entire city and into the countryside as well, then they can be picked off from ambush one by one. And the third value of massive fire to the communists is psychological. The average American, they say, soft and decadent, when he sees billows of black smoke rising from one horizon to the other, when at night the only light he has to see by is the flickering red from flames leaping into the sky, he'll become paralyzed with fear and panic. He'll run away and hide and do nothing to interfere with the guerrilla bands as they strike at the community's power centers. The Crusader explains how to set up sniper units in crowded metropolitan areas, how to manufacture jumbo Molotov cocktails, the gallon jug size, and how to mix the gasoline with certain ingredients to make it burn like napalm, how to pour gasoline into utility manholes in the streets to set fire to the main telephone cables, how to put sulfur tips from matches into air conditioning units and blow up large buildings, how to ignite gas mains and oil storage tanks. It explains how radio-controlled model airplanes can be used to fly explosive charges over heavily guarded fences into gasoline storage areas or munition stockpiles. It even calls for infiltration into the National Guard units, revolutionaries posing as non-militants for the purpose of getting free military training and for gaining access to critical military supplies and heavy weapons. And then, finally, Robert Williams says this: any all-out minority revolution must create a state of crisis wherein almost all of the male population would be forced to remain in their homes to protect their property and families. The middle class is very large, but it is not accustomed to deprivation and terror. Because of its affluence, it has waxed soft. It has no stomach for massive fire, blood, and violence. The motive force behind its life drive is its endless pursuit of prestige, conspicuous consumption, and sensual pleasure. A few years of violent, sporadic, and highly destructive uprisings will set the stage for the grand finale. After the stage is properly set through protracted struggle, America could be brought to her knees in 90 days of highly organized, fierce fighting, sabotage, and massive firestorm. Ladies and gentlemen, the plans and preparations for a communist revolution of force and violence are far advanced. The organization behind these preparations has almost unlimited financial resources, and it provides both training and leadership based upon years of experience in many other countries. Our enemies are deadly serious about their task, and it's nothing short of national suicide for us to continue to ignore their plans and their progress. The violent revolution becomes of primary value to the communists to the extent to which it can be used to condition the masses psychologically to accept the non-violent revolution, which is offered supposedly as the only alternative. Hoping to avoid further violence and bloodshed, the public is to be pressured into accepting measures that will move the country gradually and legally toward communism, but without calling it that. The strategy of the proletarian revolution calls for the quiet conversion of our government into a communist regime, but under the banner of socialism. Well, what is socialism? All right, let's define it. According to the dictionary, socialism is a political concept based upon the principle of government ownership and control of property, the means of production, and the avenues of commerce. Under socialism, those who run the government, and the communists are confident that in America they eventually will be the ones who do so, those who run the government will know who is to get something and who has to wait, and that represents control over human beings. What has all this to do with the communist revolution in America? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has everything to do with it, because the building of socialism is the communist revolution in America. It represents the process whereby our country can be moved gradually toward communism without the people even being aware of it. No matter what grievance we may have, real or imagined, no matter what national problems we may face, the communists seize upon these as excuses to build socialism. They have one and only one solution for all problems: more government, and then more and more until it's total government. And forgive me for saying it one more time, total government is communism.
There you have it, folks. This is all a big scheme by the left, the Marxist left, and if you don't see that happening, there's something wrong with you. The only thing that I don't believe about this video is that Americans are going to stand there and take it, because they're not. Every American who has a gun in the United States will stand up and protect what's theirs, protect their freedoms, their constitutional right. You ain't going to take that away. You might try. You might have some of these snowflakes blinded, but you ain't got the true Americans blinded. And the way I see it, if you want to be communist, go to a communist country. Stay the hell out of our life. We don't want big government. We want less government. And that's what Trump's trying to give us, is less government. Trying to keep our freedoms. But you snowflakes don't see that. You say we're believing a lie. You're believing a lie. You guys are living in a lie. You think communism or socialism is going to be good. It's not. Socialism ain't going to be good for you. It's going to be worse. You'll have no handouts. You won't have that free medical card, that free food stamps. You won't get that shit. You'll be out on the street somewhere begging for somebody to come back in and make America free again. America is always free and will always be free. You ain't gonna take freedom away. BLM, you ain't gonna get nowhere. You might try hard, but you ain't gonna get nowhere. Our government's already been infiltrated by Ilhan Omar and that Rashida Tlaib and AOC. They infiltrated. They're trying hard to make us communists. That ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work at all. They want to infiltrate us with their beliefs. It ain't gonna work. America was free when they came here, and America's free and will always be free. We'll fight before we let that go away. Our constitutional rights are ours. You can't take that away. People have the right to bear arms. People have a right to use those arms to protect their families and the constitutional rights. And we will. There's a gun behind every blade of grass. So make your move there, Black Lives Matter, you communist wannabes. Make your move there, you leftist people in the Congress and Senate. Make your move, snowflakes and Antifa. We're waiting. We're ready. Make your move. We're tired of fooling with you crazy leftists, dingbats. So go ahead and make your move. And, well, when you do, you're going to regret it. That's all I can say. America's free and it'll always be free. There ain't nobody in their right mind going to let you take over the whole entire country. You might have these Democrat-ran cities and stuff in your hands, but that's only because there's Democrats in there and they're far left liberals. They want communism, but it ain't going to work. Not going to work at all. And I'm sure that there's some in the military that's infiltrated the military. But we'll catch you. We'll get you out of there. Americans are not stupid. The true Americans. The silent majority is what I'm talking about. I ain't talking about you snowflakes or you BLM. You ain't America. I don't know what the hell you are, but you ain't American. You might have been born, raised here, but somewhere along the line, you got taught, you got dumbed down by the teachers in this education system today. You got dumbed down, you got liberalized, and now you're all nuts. All of you. You kids today, you snowflakes, and I'm talking to you kids from 20 to 30. You guys are so liberalized that ain't funny. What do you think you're going to get out of socialism? Because I'd like to know. You're not going to get your freedom. Everything's going to be taken away. And you're going to get what they think you deserve. You're not going to get free health care. And if you do, it's not going to be very good because all these doctors and stuff are going to leave. You ain't going to have specialists. They're not going to do that crap. America needs to grow up. Not America. It's America needs change. I will agree with that. There needs to be some change. But socialism and communism and Marxists ain't the answer. Black Lives Matter is not the answer. Antifa's not the answer. If you want change, it starts at the voting, at the poll. Get these Democrats and Republicans out of office that's been in there forever, that made a career out of it. It wasn't designed to be a career. It was supposed to be term limits. Because they knew if they kept the same person in these offices for years and years and years and years, that they would get comfortable in their chair and things wouldn't change. And the forefathers didn't design those chairs to be occupied for life. They had term limits. And that's what needs to be now. If you snowflakes and BLM and Antifa would fight for that, you get some progress. But you guys are out there attacking the American people, which have no control over what the cops or the government does. We're supposed to, but we don't. We're supposed to have control over the government because it's for the people, by the people. But they make it, the government officials have been in there so long that they practically own you. They own the government. They think you work for them. Hell, they give themselves raises every chance they get. Can you do that? No. And why are you fighting against the American people? Why don't you focus on Congress and Senate? Why don't you get those people out of office? They wasn't made to be in there for life. That's what's wrong with America. These career Democrats and Republicans in offices are getting too comfortable in the same old, same old. There's not going to be no change till you change that. Term limits, lower pay. Taxpayers shouldn't have to pay those politicians $170,000 a year. They should make what the average American makes, and that's it. And their insurance should be the same as an average American. They shouldn't get no more. It's bullcrap. It needs to change. And why don't you push that agenda? Why don't you take that in front of the president and tell him that's what you want? I bet he'd fight for it. He's kept every promise he's ever made. And if you guys would be pushing that, he'd probably go for it. He'd probably say, yeah, I'm going to do that. Let's go for term limits on all elected officials. All of them. Term limits. You run twice, you're done. After the second term in office, you got to go. And you ain't getting paid after you leave. You go find a job like the average American does. It's the only way. It's the fair way. Why don't we stand up for that? That's the only way you're gonna get your change. These Democrats got you in their pocket because they want your vote. So they get in line with you and they get your vote, and then they turn around after they give you all these promises. They turn around and do nothing again. That's the Democrat Party. They are do-nothing Democrats, all of them, with Nancy Pelosi, the snake's head, doing nothing but causing people problems. All she is a thorn in people's side. Get rid of her, Chuck Schumer, and Itchy Nads Nadler and Shim and Shifty, and put somebody else in there. Get rid of AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar. Get them out of there. Vote them out of office. Vote for people that you think will help you make the change. But the first thing you got to start with is the Senate and Congress. Get rid of the career politicians, set term limits, lower their pay, and you might get somewhere. But you're not going to get anywhere with all this violence. These violent acts ain't doing nothing but pissing more people off on the silent majority side. You know, most people was supporting BLM when they first started because they was peaceful. Now they don't. The majority of people are against BLM now because of all the stuff they're doing. They're destroying cities, burning businesses to the ground. They're robbing, cheating, stealing, and hurting people. And then when people come, they say they don't want no cops. But the first time somebody on the conservative side or the silent majority stands up and pushes back against them, where's the cops? They say, cop, come and help. You make no sense. You guys are nothing but spoiled brats who need to grow up, who never grew up but need to. You need to have a little bit of discipline in your life. You need to learn respect, honor, dignity, all that. That stuff that you don't have. You have no dignity. I don't care if you're out there riding or supporting them. You're all the same. No dignity. You have no honor. You lie, you're fed lies, you're living a lie. Grow up, get a life, leave the American people alone. It's time to stop your shit. Ain't nobody gonna feed